I know it doesn't look like it, but I've got terminal brain cancer and I was meant to be dead back in July. But I'm using cancer against itself to raise the most amount of money ever for running a marathon. And yesterday, I didn't run a marathon, but I walked the New York Marathon and I did it in a 52-pound weight vest. And the reason why I'm so compelled to do stuff like that is because after I had my brain surgery, it took me very little time to realize I don't have a lot of time left on the earth, and so I wanted to achieve something unique and something meaningful, and that is to break the charity world record. But to do that, I'm doing it in a completely unique way, and that is to not ask for donations. So far, I've raised over $500,000 US. It's the $600,000 US at this stage now. But I do that by not asking for donations, but to ask people to subscribe to the channel, and then I'm able to get corporate sponsors to donate instead of asking you. And it's working. It's a working concept. It's a working idea. And one of the main reasons why that means so much to me is because someone can come along and they can break the world record again, and I invite them to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I would encourage them, I would advise them, I give them tips. But if I'm the first person to do something, that's eternal. It can never be taken away. And so I may die. I don't really care about my legacy or anything like that, but there's just something cool about the idea that I came up with a concept and I put it out into the world and it worked. And it's about me backing myself and believing in myself. No one else has done it before, so it's a bit like kind of the adventurer, the trailblazer. And so that is what my one and only life purpose is in this world. Now, I always have to kind of start off with that intro to explain of sort of what would justify the rest of this video, which is going to be a diary entry where I'm going to discuss about how to recover after a marathon. I've got a lot of experience with that. I think yesterday was around my 20th marathon that I've ever done. I'm also going to answer 5 questions and answers that were asked previously by other people who are in the comments section who already are subscribed to this channel. So I'll go through the recovery from the marathon first, 5 little tips on that, and then I'll do the end where I'll answer the questions. And before I get into that, I would like to thank very much so the people who have supported the channel through Patreon. If you go to the Patreon account and sign up, I don't give a huge amount of differences in benefits because my whole thing of not asking people to donate kind of reflects on the Patreon thing, where the reason that my channel has been as popular as possible, YouTube is very small compared to my Instagram and TikTok. It's 14 million across the two of them. And that's because I get people to like comment and tell their own stories about their cancer, or in this particular situation, what your stories are like about marathon running. And so they're not donating, but they contribute so much to the actual algorithm getting out there and the awareness getting out there for advertisers to want to actually chomp at the bit. So the only difference in the people who contribute to Patreon, one, to keep the lights on and that sort of stuff, and they might be happy to do that, thinking they're contributing in that way. But it's to give a small priority to people who want to ask questions for the next diary entry. I try and do them as often as possible. So that's one little sort of benefit that I like to give to the Patreon people. Anyway, I'd like to thank 6 people at the moment. We started the Patreon not too back at the start of the summer, so there's only 6 people that have started it off. So yeah, very much appreciate the next person who comes along and tips into them. Tips for recovery after doing a marathon. Not that this is advised for a recovery or whatever, but in a way it's kind of good that I have to return these weights to Synergy Fitness. Yeah, I've got to return the weights to Synergy Fitness, who it is good to just get out and move the legs and flush out the lactic acid in any form of recovery. Normally I would do a run, but massive blister prevents that to be like a sensible thing. And then also I didn't run the marathon, I walked the marathon, so like why try and push the muscles in a way that they weren't worked. But yeah, if you've ran a marathon, it sounds completely counterintuitive, but if you do like a really slow 5k, you feel way better, unless your feet are blistered to bits. So having both the recovery video and the questions and answer video was a bit long in the tooth, so I've separated the two of them. If you want to see the questions and answer video, just search Q&A in the King Chemo thing, you'll be able to find it. This video is only about recovery. Yeah, it's too heavy for a bicep curl. I'm weak and feeble. Okay, so I'm going to go through 5 different forms of recovery first. And so with that, I'm going to get down into my underpants here, just so you can actually sort of see how I'm going to be stretching out certain things a bit more clearly. And I said that I don't ask for donations. I ask for people to subscribe so that we get sponsors. Oddballs is one of the sponsors. So if you want some really good, fun underpants that are also, I wore the same, not the same, I changed my underpants. I wore another pair of oddballs while I was doing my marathon yesterday. So they're really good for sport. They're just good underpants. And then within that, they also, if you use the term or the code KING, you get money off, and all their money goes towards for charity. Originally they were for testicular cancer in particular, but they kind of just opened the doors to lots of different things. Now, I have really tight hip flexors, and what I'm doing here now is I'm getting into the psoas muscle. And so what you want to do is you want to push forward from your hips and lean back, almost like you're creating a bow and arrow. So imagine this is like the back of the bow, and that's the top, and I'm leaning forward like this. So that is one of the ways to get like a hip flexor thing. Then another exercise that I'm suffering from quite a lot is, again, tight hip. And what I'm going to do is the knee and the ankle are going to align, and then, oh Jesus, calf is rough as well. And then what I do is I would put the pressure down here on this sort of a side to press in. And again, you can kind of see, like, in order to sort of get into that part of the hip, you kind of do need to show off the shorts. Now, there's no point in me showing you like a load of different exercises because it'll just take too long. I'll try and go through a couple of them. Here's another one to try and get in with your hip. Normally you need to have this a little bit lower, but having your hanging off the side and the leg just dropping down, having gravity pull, that's a good way to pull out the hips. Easy one to do the back is just turning all the way around like this. From the ground, you can do the same thing and lean in. You get into your bum a lot more if you pull your knee up to the side. Anyway, go onto YouTube specifically if you want to go in. There's so many different ways that you will be able to stretch yourself out. I can't go through them all. I can only go through the ones that will be effective for me. Foam rolling. I start foam rolling as soon as possible after a marathon, or even before a marathon. Now, we don't have a foam roller in this house. I'm staying with my friend Jack, so I'm going to have to alternate. And this is another one of the actual sponsors. Not that they're built for this, but this is a thermal jug for, you know, keeping things cool or keeping things hot, whichever is your preference. But something that I find these things are amazing for is almost like a portable foam roller. So it's still the same function. So again, the hips are mega tight. So what you need to do is you need to have the muscle relaxed. This is kind of the trickiest thing about sort of giving yourself a self-massage, because as you're doing it, the muscles themselves will tighten up. And if you can get in, that's like, I'm not, oh yeah, okay, there we go. Yes, that is all I need to do is for a very long time to really loosen this one up. And all you do is just dig. You just use that sort of rounded solid surface. A bottle works quite well for this. So if you have like just a glass bottle, it'll do really well. But this is a really good way. And again, use the code KING and you will get money off. Every sort of sponsor that we have, we're actually going across 3 sponsors in the whole thing. Another one is going to be an anti-inflammatory cream, which works so well. I won't be putting it on in this particular video because this is going to be going on my shoulders after all the weight that I was carrying with the 52 pounds. A lot of pain is going on with the inflammation on my shoulders. I'm not pain, just tenderness. Now, before I do that, I'm going to be doing an electrolyte or an electronic sort of stimulator thing, and I'll be putting the cream on afterwards. Now, I will do one really difficult, let me angle this a little bit better. I'm going to give you guys a really difficult area to get by yourself, and that is the calf. But I did come across a good trick to do it. So, as I was saying, you always want to have the muscle relaxed, otherwise you won't be able to get into the area. So if your muscle is tense, so as you can sort of see here, the looseness of my calf, make sure your heel is on a coffee table. This is ideal. You might need to add a little bit of cream, like, you know, the CBD oil there. Okay, that's actually fine. Normally what I would do if it's a bit too tight, like the hair is kind of catching this particular thermal, I know I'm to kind of promote the actual brand, but this thermal flask is actually ideal for this sort of thing. But if you're finding that it's kind of sticking to your skin a bit too much, maybe you're doing this fresh after doing the marathon itself, that you, if you're wearing lycra clothing, like, you know, a thermal sort of vest or a thermal sort of leggings, it's a really good way to make things really smooth to just slip right the way through. And what you're doing here is you're giving yourself a self-massage. There's not much of a trick to it. You're just digging right the way in and moving up towards the heart. You always aim whenever you're massaging something to go towards the heart. If I was to do that with my toes there, you could kind of almost feel straight away the muscle is now slightly tense and you're not able to get into that area. And that's just a really good sort of self trick that you're wondering, how can I sort of stretch out the calves properly. You can do it without the coffee table as well, but I find you get at the right angle. I'm trying not to say ankle. The right angle if you put it up on the coffee table. Same thing again. If you're doing hamstrings, are a very hard one to do, but you can kind of do it with the same principle. This is still tense, so you have to kind of move around a fair bit to like get in there, but it still can be done. Now my hamstrings weren't actually tense at all, so they don't need any TLC. Well, the opposite. They don't need any tough love. Hamstrings really, not hamstrings, hip flexor, they need a lot of tough love, and the calves. So there's the trick. Make sure the leg is stretched out, really sort of as loose as possible. Dig in there. And yeah, they're also fantastic for keeping your coffee hot and your beer cold. That's something that I screw in my own little way as well. That little space in there, perfect for a can. So if you want an ice cold tinny to take onto like a train or a bus or something like that, you're on your way to a concert, that's an ideal way to do it. So our only planet, Hemp, Heroes and Oddballs, if you use the code KING in any of those, you'll get money off of your purchase, and you will also get money will also go to the charity. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you this. They send an electronic current into your muscles, and it causes them to flex. And it's a really good way if you kind of have like a kind of a cramp that you can't get out. I've got some in my shoulders because of carrying the 52 weight pack, and they're not too expensive for how effective they are. I'm going to be putting on the CBD oil after I put the electronic thing on first, because they need to stick. I'm just going to show you what they do now. Okay, so you can put these onto any part of the body, but kind of what I was showing off with our Only Planet, the little trick to give yourself a massage, a self-massage. It's a very difficult thing to give yourself a self-massage. It's almost impossible to do it to your own back. There are ways, but it's very tricky to do. A foam roller on the back and roll up and down, that's one way, I guess. But this is targets the location better. And yeah, like every single one, I'm not sponsored by these guys. Fuck them, whoever they are. Where I'm going to be answering the rest of the questions while stretching out the really needed hip flexor stuff. So yeah, 3 things at once. Oh god, I love efficiency. I look like I'm practically trying to do like a belly dance for my own shoulders. Like, look at me jiggle, look at the jiggle. So that's doing my shoulders, hopefully trying to ease them up from all the sort of the extra amount of weight that was being carried. And it was more like the downward amount of pressure that was coming in from the weight vest itself, rather than the muscles being used. 52 pounds is not a huge amount of weight, but when it's all sort of focused down on your traps here, it quickly gets aggravated. A bit late in the video to explain this, but like if you think my voice is fucked, that's because I do have quite a bad cold at the moment. Well, not bad, but like, you know, I have a bit of a chest infection, which isn't that big a deal, but trying to do the fucking marathon with a chest infection and a heavy weight vest that prevents the lungs from like opening up and getting as much oxygen, it made it a lot harder. I can tell you that for nothing. It made it a lot harder. Anyway, anybody who hasn't pressed the subscribe button at the moment, sometimes you might be watching videos and you forget to do that sort of stuff. Press the subscribe button, because ultimately This channel is about dating advice or life advice. It's about breaking the world record for cancer. So if you have friends or family in your life that have cancer or possibly will get cancer at some point, it's 1 in 2 statistically will get cancer at some point in their life. Look that up. It's crazy, but that's true. It's the cheapest health insurance in the world. Doesn't necessarily mean that, it's a guarantee that your friends or family will, get the cure because you press the button on your device to, subscribe to this channel. But there's a tiny chance that you might, get an extra week or an hour from pressing the button. So, press the button. And one thing before I go, so that's the electrical thing. Fuck them. They're not sponsoring the account. So you can't give, the code of King to get some money off. But this is Hemp Heroes, and I'm just going to show you. It's not hard whatsoever. You just put the cream on whatever area is inflamed or sore, and it really does make a big, big difference. Especially if you're now I didn't really need to do it too much because of, the glorious thermal flask of our only planet was able to sort of glide things smoothly while I was sort of giving myself a bit of a self-massage. But this cream actually works wonders. This oil works wonders for just loosening stuff up that you can kind of dig right the way into a difficult sort of troubled area. Oh, fucking hell, that's nice and brutal at the same time. A troubled area that needs a good rub down. And so our only planet, the flask does actually do a really good job. But something else that would do a good job is and honest to God, the medal of a marathon that you've just completed is actually quite good at getting in there and doing what's called trigger point therapy, where you're getting right in and kind of loosening up by force the tightness of the hip flexor. And you can do that if you don't want to ruin your beautiful Oddballs underpants. Enough product placement. Don't donate, subscribe to the channel, and then we'll be able to get more, sponsors who will give the money to charity instead of asking you to part your ways. But in the meantime, do still buy this stuff because it is really good.